All parties in the matter of Johnson Obligacion versus Rogers. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Tabitha Obligacion and her mother, Katrina Johnson, are suing Tabitha's former friend, 20-year-old food service worker Deshaun Rogers, for chipping her tooth.
You're Tabitha? Your mother?
Yes.
It is your claim, Tabitha, that the defendant chipped your tooth
Yes.
while you were sort of fooling around at his mother's house. You want him to pay the bill.
Yes.
What were you doing at his house?
We were supposed to go to a party, but we stopped by his house.
So tell me what happened when you got there.
Well, we
Look
were
at
there.
me.
We were there for a few minutes, and then Deshaun took my purse and ran into the restroom. And I went in there to get my purse.
You mean just out of nowhere, he got up and grabbed your purse?
Well, yeah, like he was playing, I guess, and then he grabbed my purse. So he ran into the bathroom. I went into the bathroom after him to get my purse. He threw my purse into the bathtub, and then he closed the door. And then he started spraying me with 409, and then he started wrestling with me. And then the next thing I knew, he bumped my head on the sink, and it chipped my tooth. And the next thing I know, my tooth went through my lip, and I started bleeding. And then when he realized what happened, he stopped wrestling with me, and then he opened the door. And I ran out, and I was bleeding, and I realized I was bleeding. And then I went back to realize that my tooth was chipped. And then I went to go find the other half of my tooth, and then I found it, and then I glued it back on with super glue.
Tell me your version of the events, sir.
What had happened was all in the house playing with water.
What do you mean playing with water?
Was squirting water on each other. And what she did was she reached under the counter, she got my mom's spray. It's wood grain spray. So she ran in the bathroom, was playing around, she sprayed it in my eyes. So I walked out the bathroom, and I walked in the living room where everybody else was sitting, and that's when she ran out afterwards. And I ran outside after. I said, "What's wrong, Tabitha?" She said, "I chipped my tooth on your counter." I said, "How'd that happen?" She said, "I slipped when I was spraying the spray."
Tabitha, you left out the fact that you were all sort of fooling around with water.
We weren't fooling around with water.
Were you fooling around with anything?
No, he started spraying with 409, and I didn't have any 409 before that.
I didn't ask you about the 409. I asked you about whether you were all sort of fooling around when you were in his house. You see why it didn't make sense to me that he would just go and grab your purse. From nothing, you was all sitting around waiting for him to change, and he just grabbed your purse and went in the bathroom. So you want to start this again and tell me what you were all doing in the house? Were you there? Step up.